We're going to dive into a question that honestly sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, but the consequences, they are terrifyingly real. What would actually happen if, for just 24 hours, the internet disappeared?
No, I mean, really think about that for a second. No Google, no email, no Netflix, no Spotify, no maps on your phone. Just nothing. All those connections we take for granted, gone. It feels like the internet is just woven into the very fabric of our lives, right? So it's hard to even imagine a world without it. But how deep does that dependency really go?
Well, the numbers are kind of mind-blowing. Get this. As of early 2024, we're talking about 5.35 billion people online. That's more than two-thirds of every single person on the planet. So yeah, a shutdown isn't just an inconvenience, it's a full-on potential catastrophe. And you know what? To see what that chaos really looks like, we don't even have to imagine it. We just have to look at what happened one day in Arizona. So let's go back to what seemed like a totally normal day in 2015. Except for about 1 million people in Arizona, it was the day they found out exactly what happens when someone just unplugs the digital world.
Okay, so this wasn't some random glitch or a system bug. No, someone intentionally went out and cut a major fiber optic cable. And for 6 straight hours, a huge chunk of the state, all the way from Flagstaff to Phoenix, was basically thrown back into a digital dark age. And what's wild is just how fast everything started to crumble.
It was a total domino effect. First, the payment systems went down, so no credit cards, no debit cards. Then, boom, cell service vanished. You couldn't make a call, you couldn't send a text. But it didn't even stop there. The outage also knocked out most landlines, which led to maybe the most terrifying problem of all. 911 was crippled. The result was just chaos. Businesses that couldn't take your money, they just had to close. Emergency dispatchers were scrambling, forced to use handheld radios like in the old days. For 6 hours, modern life in that part of the world just stopped. Now take that chaos, that local disruption, and imagine it happening everywhere, all at once. Okay, so what would that cost? I mean, what's the price tag for a single day without the internet across the whole world? Well, the numbers, they're pretty hard to wrap your head around. $43 billion. That's the estimated hit to the global economy for just one day of digital darkness. To put that into perspective for you, that's more than the entire yearly economic output of countries like Bolivia or Paraguay, just gone, wiped out in a single day. And you can see here exactly which economies are the most vulnerable. I mean, look at this. The US would get hit the hardest. We're talking an estimated $11 billion loss. China's right behind at almost $10 billion, and from there, the losses just cascade down through pretty much every major developed country on the list. And if you want to bring it down to a single company, just think about Amazon. They stand to lose over $1 million every single minute that they're offline. But you know, the money, that's just one piece of the puzzle. The impact on our actual critical infrastructure, that's where things get really scary. Yeah, this goes way beyond just dollars and cents. An internet shutdown would paralyze the very services that keep our entire society from falling apart. I mean, just think about it for a second. The entire banking system would just freeze. No getting cash, no moving money. Our transportation networks, trains, planes, shipping, all relying on digital signals would be thrown into absolute chaos. And like we saw in Arizona, 911 and other emergency services would be in big, big trouble. But believe it or not, it gets even more serious when we start talking about hospitals and even just keeping the lights on. This quote from Dr. Andrew Carroll, man, it really says it all. Modern hospitals just run on data. And if you shut off the internet, suddenly all those patient records, all the lab results, all the x-rays and scans, they're just gone. You can't get to them. You'd basically be sending modern medicine back decades in the blink of an eye. And it's not just the hospitals either. Think about our power and water systems. We've spent all this time and money upgrading them to be these super efficient, smart grids. But what makes them smart? Internet connectivity. And a former NSA hacker has flat out warned that these systems are now a huge target for anyone who wants to shut down massive parts of our infrastructure. So, this all leads to the big question, right? Could something like this, a total shutdown, really happen?
Yeah, this is the big one. Is this a real, plausible threat
we should be worried about? Or is it just the plot of a Hollywood disaster movie?
So it's really useful to separate the fantasy scenarios from the real-world threats. On one side, you have the truly apocalyptic stuff that could cause a global outage. You know, a giant solar flare hitting the Earth, an asteroid, that kind of thing. But on the other side, you have the threats that are very real and are happening right now. Targeted cyber attacks, simple infrastructure failures, and, scarily, governments choosing to shut things down. The main reason a total global shutdown is so unlikely comes down to this one really important word: redundancy. See, the internet isn't one single thing that you can just flip a switch on. It's designed as a massive, decentralized network of networks. It has countless backup systems and alternative routes for data to travel. And as technology expert Paul Levinson puts it, the whole system is built to be resilient. If one piece of it breaks or gets knocked out, the traffic just finds another way to get where it's going, almost instantly. So having everything fail all at once, all over the world, it's just incredibly unlikely. But that doesn't mean we're safe from those intentional, targeted blackouts.
And this is not some what-if scenario. While a full global outage might be sci-fi, these politically motivated shutdowns are a very real and growing problem. I mean, look at these numbers. They're pretty alarming. We're seeing nearly 200 documented cases in both 2021 and 2022. More and more, governments are realizing they have an off switch they can use to control information and silence people.
So all of this leaves us with a pretty unsettling final thought. Maybe we don't need to worry so much about an asteroid or a solar flare. The real threat, the one that's happening right now, is a shutdown ordered by a person. The internet connects our entire world. But it turns out its biggest weakness isn't in the wires or the satellites, it's in the hands of the people who have access to the off switch.